All right, dude.
Hey, I just figured out that my new thing that I hate the most is dealing with my
Internet.
Ugh.
Buddy, that I think I told you before, it was a while ago, but over 5 years ago, but it was news when they surpassed the airline industry as least most hated industry by consumers. Yeah.
Boy, I tell you, when we ordered our internet here at the house, it took them, 2.5 weeks to come out to do this whole thing, which to me is outrageous.
It is outrageous.
And then of course, we were having problems with the internet connection last week, and then you and I discovered it was my download speed, and so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take care of this. I call the internet company. I'm telling them, here's the deal. I'm a new customer, and the woman has instant tech support. I go to, we've got this modem tower, and it's got this green light on there, and she tells me to do a couple of things to it, and it totally ruins it. And I spent almost 2 hours on the phone with this person, standing there looking at this stupid modem. Green light means that everything's good, of course. Well, it's turning blue, it's turning orange, it's turning red. It's never going to turn freaking green. And I'm just like, turn green. Doggone it. And I was a mess. I was like frothing. Come on. And then at the end of all of this, she says, I'm going to have to send a tech out there, and he's going to show up, next year sometime. It seemed like that's what you call it. It was a week out. And I'm like, I cannot even believe
that's
this.
Unacceptable.
It is. And then the worst part was
gotta work, man.
Not only that, but now I have migrated off a cable, and I'm using my Fire Stick and everything, which is another huge savings, by the way.
Oh, sure it is.
But now everything's shut down, and I'm completely out. And I tell Anne Marie about it. Boy, she was upset.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't break it. They made me break it. And anyhow, so we went through that. I finally, I called back at the end of the day. I'm like, look, it was after I got your text, the unacceptable. This is unacceptable. I'm like, yeah, this is unacceptable. It
totally is. Well, you know what the problem
up. Go ahead.
No, the problem with the industry is, and I don't know why this is, but they're near monopolies. They have so little competition. Why is that?
I don't know. Something's got to change here, because we rely on this too much. Yes. It's almost like oxygen. Your oxygen got shut off. Oh, we'll be out next week. We'll be dead by then. Right. So I called back. I'm like, I'm gonna talk to a supervisor or somebody. Somebody's gonna hear me, because we can't do this.
Right.
And I ended up back in tech support again. And I got this person, and I said, look, I need somebody to help. She said, let me look at it. 10 minutes later, it was working. And I'm like,
oh my God,
couldn't the other person do this?
Anyhow, it makes me blood boil, doesn't it?
It does. And so the download speed never changed.
Yeah.
I got a tech coming out on Monday now to check that whole thing out, but I was just happy to get the internet back. It was like, oh, I can breathe again.
Yeah.
We depend on this way too much. This is ridiculous.
Well, it's like if Russia and China really do succeed with their little space race there, and they gain the power to take out our grid, our internet, even electricity, maybe.
Yeah.
We're screwed.
We are
screwed.
And we can't take it. I mean, I know I can't. Take away my internet and I'm freaking out, let alone take away my electricity. Jeez.
Right. So I think that these kind of things should be coming to the forefront of our minds, that kind of susceptibility, as we're in the precarious situation that we are now, where on the one hand, we're looking at dealing with the thoughts of a possible nuclear war like we haven't since the 70s. And
isn't that something?
That kind of fear and impossible reality. That Putin, man, he's tossing, or his representative of some sort, they're tossing that word around a little loosely these days.
They really are.
Oh,
And
it's scary.
it is that should be the word that, you know, any nuclear
That's the
power.
other N word.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, this is a never to be used word unless you really mean that you're gonna shoot. You know,
Yeah.
you don't mess around with threats like that. But that's the deal, is that when you get into a confrontation with a place like Russia, that they have nukes, and what are we going to do? Go head to head against Russia? This is what the whole Cold War was about,
Right.
is that, hey, these are two nuclear powers, and what is it? Assured.
So assured destruction.
Yeah,
Mutual, assured mutual.
assured mutual
Yeah.
destruction. Yeah, this is like, well, we don't want that. They have you know, thousands of nukes. We have thousands of nukes. We could
Mhm.
destroy the world several times over.
Yeah.
Why would we want to do this? Here's
Well,
Russian.
someone said that Putin is in such a place of desperation, and they have a completely different. And by the way, I just listened to a really terrific Jordan Peterson podcast where he had, I don't see his name in front of me, but had an expert scholar, historian on Russia and the whole thing on that, and he gave the insight into the perspective over there. And they have a very different perspective, but with Putin in particular, that, he kind of feels like, I'm probably going to die. Why not take everyone out with me at this point?
This is the scary thing about these totalitarian
Yes.
states, is
Yes.
because you've got one person. I saw a really weird picture of Putin sitting at his conference table, and it's a big, long, old conference table, a la Donald Trump kind of thing, but his cabinet was like the table's like 50 yards long, right? He's sitting at the head of the table, and his cabinet is like 45 yards down there. Like, they're not worthy enough to be around
Yeah.
Putin.
Yeah.
And you start to think about a guy that's had this much power for decades now. It's like 20 years.
Yeah.
And he's made himself the king. And there's no competition there for him. He's sort of in a silo. That can't be good for mental health.
No, I had a thought, and it is piggybacking on what you just said right there. What if we or the EU or somebody announced that they're putting $100 million bounty on his head? He's so siloed, and now it could be disastrous. It could trigger a nuclear, but he would start getting so paranoid about his cabinet, his best friend, everybody, that maybe it would shake this whole thing up. But on the other hand, maybe it would trigger that his trigger finger.
Sometimes I think about this as sort of a hostage kind of a situation, right? Like, this guy has the world hostage. He's holding a gun to the world's head.
Yeah.
And so now you got the police or the FBI comes. The last thing they'd want to do is come in and say, hey, we're coming in guns blazing, because the guy's going to do something crazy. His back's up against the wall right now. And I see it in a very similar situation. We got to talk this guy down, because he does have nukes, and there's no approval process that he's going to have to go through to use this. There's no checks and balances. It's just him. And you figure, it seemed to me that he started talking about nukes way early in this whole confrontation. I mean,
scary.
There's no real threat to him that's going on right now, but he knows that the Western powers are aligning together. He knows the nuclear capabilities of the Western powers, and he immediately comes out and puts his nuclear apparatus on high alert.
Right.
This is a pretty serious thing right here. And then when you take a look at our president, he seems to have like only one mode, which is anger, that seems to be remotely working for him.
Yeah.
And that's not the tone of diplomacy. And so it is concerning. I got an article here. Russian foreign minister warns World War III will be nuclear. That's Sergei Lavrov is talking about that. And he says the Third World War will be nuclear and destructive. Why? I mean, whatever happened to assured mutual destruction? Why would we want to? Who can win in a situation like that? Nobody.
Right. No,
I agree with what you're saying. Is that it seems like we're not dealing with a person with a full deck here, and I'm hearing it out of the media. Several people, Condi Rice actually was talking about how she's met with Putin several times throughout her career. And she's saying he looks like a different person right now. He's not talking the same. He's not acting the same.
Yeah, I think,
and I've heard that more than once. Yeah.
Paranoia has taken over. But he has created a lot of illegal atrocities, and he's got to be handled. He's got to be taken care of. I mean, permanently.
Well, and we've got a 1984 thing that's happening here. There's a Russian television station called RT. Have you heard of them?
Yes, just like yesterday. And geez, did you send me that? Or did I read an article? Somebody said that they did a whole lot of research, listening to the propaganda, and said that, boy, it's a whole different perspective, whole different.
I've got a CNN article here that's talking about this. This is Oliver Darcy with CNN Business, who's talking about exactly what you're talking about.
I think that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he spent the whole day watching RT. Now here in the U.S., we're banning RT. Many of the Western powers are banning RT now. This has been on very popular media outlets like Roku. They're banning RT, but it is Putin's propaganda machine, and the view that they're portraying as their liberators to the Ukrainians, and that the people are oppressed by the neo-Nazi Ukrainian government, and we're freeing them. And I even read a report where a Russian soldier who was killed recently in this battle had they found his phone, and on his phone it said, Mama, this is not what I expected it to be. We were told that the people would be happy to see us as liberators. It's not that at all. We're dropping bombs like crazy. We're killing civilians, and he ended up getting killed. But yeah, the Russian people are getting an earful regarding how the Ukrainian government and the Western powers are the aggressors who are trying to wage war against Russia, and specifically against him. And it's really interesting to see the 1984 type of propaganda that's coming out. And here's the other thing, Barry, that I think about is we here in the United States are not allergic to propaganda ourselves. And so when you start to take a look at these articles, and this is a CNN article, these guys are the propaganda machine of the left here in our country. So are we getting the real story?
Very true. Now I'm going to reference this again, that Jordan Peterson podcast. I just looked it up here. It's called Russia, Ukraine, and the West, and the man's name is Frederick Kagan, and it's on the latest Jordan Peterson podcast. And what he said about that is cyber warfare, that Russia is a very big proponent of cyber warfare. What the end goal is, man, am I really summarizing this? Really, so forgive me for that. I highly recommend the podcast. It just came out. I just listened to it last night, and it's terrific, very insightful. So they put out enough misinformation like that, like, okay, you just said, so now we don't know what to believe. I totally feel like that too. And that's the intention. So they got all of these Russian bot farms that are just pushing out tons and tons of misinformation on the social media and YouTube and stuff. But the idea is, so whether you're a Ukrainian, a Russian, or in the United States, a Westerner, you don't know what to believe, so you can't get unified and get behind being against Russia or something. You know, it has a paralyzing effect, is what it does. So it's very effective.
It is. It's psychological warfare, which is happening right here, and
Right.
it's a very powerful weapon. And the Russians have been working on perfecting that for a very long time and using technology. We talked about this on our last show. They've really gotten good at it. Here's the New York Post. They are saying that Russia declares cyber war on the U.S. So this is the New York Post again. You have to take all of these with a grain of salt, whether it's coming from right-leaning or left-leaning media.
Sure,
But somewhere in here is the truth. It says here, cyber war has been declared on the United States, with Russia using preliminary but increasing steps in a campaign to cripple the nation's banking systems and potentially other industries, according to a new report. It goes on to talk about JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citigroup, and Goldman Sachs are under constant cyber attacks from criminals, usually located in Russia, Iran, or China. But
you froze up.
Those attacks are intensifying after the invasion of Ukraine. Did you hear what I said, though?
Yes, it came back and talked really fast and cut off.
Yeah, that's funny how that works. So the bank executives, this just came out Thursday, March 3rd. That's today. All right. So this just came out today. So this is happening. You know, our whole business over at Black Ops Partners deals with this type of thing, puts a strategy together to really organize the Fortune 1000s from the top down, from the bottom up, to be able to react and turn on a dime to these types of attacks, including cyber attacks or espionage or what have you. There's a lot of that stuff coming out here. But again, you know, this is having a tremendous impact, and cyber attacks is a weapon that we didn't really think about a few years ago, but now it's one of their leading weapons that's being used. And it just causes all kinds of troubles.
I don't want to interrupt you or throw you in a direction you don't want to go, but I do want to ask at some point, whether you want to talk about it now or later, but your thoughts on the State of the Union address, which I did not watch.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to come back to that because I definitely have a take on that. But what we're seeing here, let's just stay on Russia for a little bit longer, because of course, since the last show, most of the news has been Russia.
Yeah.
But we've heard about these devastating sanctions, and one thing that I always think of is, okay, I know that Russia has an alliance with China. China has come and said that, hey, whatever sanctions are happening, we'll cover you on this, and they've made some moves regarding this. But I saw this report recently where it appears that these sanctions are completely crushing the society there in Russia. Let me just see if I can find this here.
I've been hearing that quite a bit too, and it's again one of those things where I'm not sure what I'm supposed to believe. Could that be propaganda in an effort to, I don't know, bolster support here against, give hope to our cause, or I don't know.
I don't know either. Here's the article, this one coming from CBS News. Russia's ruble worth less than 1 cent after West tightens the sanctions. Apparently, the ruble, now when you say 1 cent, what was it before that? The ruble fell about 30% against the dollar on Monday. So that's a pretty dramatic drop. And what's happening here is it's causing runs on the bank. And you've got lines of people coming out and trying to get their cash out, and they can't get their cash out. Now, this might be an occasion that we might want to take a look at because of everything that's happening here. And maybe we need to have cash reserves ourselves and make sure that we're taken care of, because in the face of these cyber attacks, especially against our banking system, we could end up in the same boat. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, this is having an impact on the Russian people themselves. And
I feel really bad for them.
Yeah. So they're being fed this whole load that the West is out to get them.
They're going to be in breadlines again. And yes, they have been fed this crap about the West is out to get them. It's been their strategy for nearly the last 20 years.
Yeah. And, you know, so this is it. So is Putin really hurt by this? Are the oligarchs that we say prop up Putin, are they really being hurt by this?
The propaganda says so.
Yeah.
Here's another one, Merle. About 5 days ago, when this really, you know, everything really hit the fan here. And then it was the first day of hearing that Ukrainians were having some success in these battles against and demoralizing the Russian troops. You're getting that kind of spin. And I saw this one headline that said, if the Ukraine can hang on for 8 days, Russia will not be able to sustain itself economically.
I read that too.
And that, okay, well, 8 days is going to be come up in about a couple of days. And so that's what I mean. I don't know what to believe, you know?
I don't believe that one at all.
Right.
I saw that one and I was like, come on, you really believe that? Here's one I got. This one comes from the Washington Times, and it's saying lack of fuel and food hinders Russian advance on Kiev. The Pentagon says.
Yes.
So, you know, here's the deal. The Pentagon saying that. I want to trust the Pentagon when they say stuff, but we just saw what happened in Afghanistan.
Yes.
And the Pentagon said all this stuff about how the withdrawal was going to be this successful thing. We left billions of dollars of high-tech equipment over there, and lots of people got killed, and we left a bunch of people behind.
It was a disaster.
Now they're telling us that, oh no, this isn't a big deal because the Ukrainians are fighting back, and now the Russians, they don't have any fuel. They just have these convoys. They've run out of fuel. Look how demoralized these troops are.
They're supposed to be at a standstill, those convoys. 40 miles of convoy.
That's what I heard. And I heard that the morale was low amongst the Russian troops.
Yes, I heard that.
And that they're mostly conscripted into the... Okay, but let's just think about this. When have we ever heard that morale was high in Russia amongst the citizens?
Right. No.
And here's another one. Don't they just conscript whoever they want to anyhow?
Yeah.
I mean, and when have we ever heard, boy, the Russian military morale is really high? Right. We never heard anything about that. So this is one of those things where I everything I got to take with a grain of salt. Here's how I see it, Barry. Ukrainians are in trouble. I mean, they're in big trouble. And if they think this is going to be a short thing, no, Putin staged this whole thing for months before they actually went in. Do you think they're only going to stay for 8 days and then leave with their tails between their legs? No, they planned this out. They know exactly what they're doing. Here's what's going on that we know about.
I kind of feel that maybe he didn't realize he got it more in over his head than he ever expected.
Well, that's been the line that we've been hearing. And I want to believe that too. But here's the thing is how often has the United States underestimated Putin? We've done, oh, Putin's done. We're done with that guy. Well, think about how Barack Obama and was Mitt Romney, and Mitt Romney was saying, Russia is the greatest geopolitical enemy, the threat to the whole world. And Obama says, oh, the 80s called, they want their foreign policy back. I mean, that was Putin. And what an underestimation of what this guy can do. I mean, to your point, Barry, the guy is at the end of his career. He wants to make a name for himself.
Oh, agreed. And just want to say too, and Obama was always overestimated.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I agree, you know, and he think about what was happening under Obama's watch is that the Ukraine was invaded by Russia in 2014, and they were able to take over several key areas on the eastern flank of Ukraine, and they never left. And the first thing that Putin did last week was declare that those areas were now republics within the Ukraine, and that they were coming in to liberate those people. But this has been an 8-year war. They took Crimea from the Ukraine. They took those areas in Donbass from Ukraine. And so this is a strategy that's been evolving for many years. To think that they're going to leave in just a couple of days seems to be very, very optimistic without any real proof to me.
No,
I think that if they're stalled out because of fuel, somehow, some way, they're going to get fuel over there. And speaking of fuel, here's the thing, we talk about all these sanctions that we're putting on these guys, but we are buying a tremendous amount of fuel from Russia even today. There's no sanctions on that whatsoever. The whole Eastern bloc, the whole European Union is still purchasing fuel from Russia. And if we've cut off all of their supply line financially, but we're still providing that main source of financing, that means that we're potentially financing the war against Ukraine while we're saying we are their friends. And one other thing I'll say is that the White House just sent to Congress this morning a request for another $10 billion in military aid to the Ukraine. Already this year, we're over $1.3 billion of aid to Ukraine. So we're escalating in the midst of a huge financial crisis that's happening here in the United States. That can only mean more inflation for us. This thing's getting out of hand.
Yeah, everything's out of hand. So do you want to summarize that State of the Union?
Yeah, so State of the Union, one of my favorite things. So I know it sounds weird, but I love watching State of the Unions, and I
watch some clips on YouTube.
Yeah, so this was an interesting one. I think there was a lot of 1984 stuff happening here too, because you had I was thinking about Biden before the State of the Union, and I'm thinking, well, this guy doesn't have a lot of good news to talk about. What accomplishments can he hang his hat on over the last year? And as I watched the speech, I thought, okay, that's interesting strategy. I mean, he knows that Ukraine is a uniter. One thing that we've seen since the invasion of Ukraine is that the West has, for the most part, at least up until now, has united against a common enemy, which we really haven't seen happen for a very long time. So he spent a good part, probably about a third of his speech, the first part of his speech, really talking about Ukraine. And I think that was a pretty good strategy for him to do that. That's what I would have done if I were him as well. And then he pivoted after that to start talking about really the Build Back Better kind of thing that he lost out on at the end of the year. But what they're going to try to do here is, and he's really signaling this, is they're going to try to chop up Build Back Better into little smaller bills to try to accomplish the same thing. He knows he's got the midterm election coming up in several months, and that they've got to be able to hang their hat on Build Back Better, on these programs that they have out there, and say that they and allow the people running for Congress to say that they won these big battles. But right now, they don't have anything to talk about. There was a lot of tough talk that was happening there. It seems like Joe Biden is at his best when he can, act like he's very tough and angry about something. And that was the whole speech that I saw. But there were a few things that really jumped out to me, Barry. At one point, Joe Biden makes a plea about, let's fund the police. Not defund the police, fund the police. And I think a lot of people's heads exploded right there on both sides of the aisle.
Another thing I noticed is Nancy got some new fillers in her face for the occasion. See how big her cheeks were? Yeah, take a look at that. Yeah.
Let's see. What do you got here? Hold on a second.
But agreed about the fund the police. You know, I wonder if there's ramifications to come yet, because he made that stance, because he's appeased the left so much since he's gotten in there, the far left.
Yes.
And that had to, what did that Tlaib have to say about that?
You know, I missed part of her speech because I was trying to find it, and I think I came in about halfway through. So I didn't really get the whole thing that she was saying. I missed a big part of that. That was actually what I really wanted to see. Apparently there were two rebuttals, and it's weird that it's a rebuttal from the Democrat Party. She wasn't the only one that gave a rebuttal from the Democrat Party, but
just how divided the party is.
Yeah, it is very divided, and that's the thing that's going to be interesting going into the midterm elections is how this whole thing gets pulled off. I had something that I wanted to show you that I just thought was really odd. Hold on just a second. These are just things that jumped out to me. Oh wait, let me stop sharing that for a second. Let me turn on the sound on this too. Let's play this here.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Nancy's so weird. But what he was talking about, can you turn that up? Because it was so inappropriate.
It really was.
And what's with rubbing her fists together?
I know, it's just,
these burn pits that incinerate waste, the waste of war.
He was talking about something like a really horrible thing. Let's see if it's in here.
It was. I saw an extended clip of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is, let's see, House Speaker Bazar sort of stood up awkwardly. President spoke about the dangers American troops have faced breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. That's what he was talking about. And then she stood up and she did all this really weird kind of thing here while he's talking about people dying and inhaling stuff. What are you smiling about? What's
those
going on
giant
with your
cheeks?
Weird lips.
Yeah, she definitely just got back from the cosmetic surgeon.
I mean, here I hate to just bag on her. It's kind of fun actually, but she's constantly back there like doing some kind of weird thing with her mouth the entire time. It was very distracting actually.
Yeah.
She's a very odd person.
She is. I've said before, I just think the best, most accurate adjective for her is just really immature. I think she's so immature.
A couple other things that came out, I think so too. A couple other things that came out that I saw that were just, they deserve comment was I was watching really before the speech happened and, everyone's gathering and all. They had dropped the mask mandate only a couple of days before the State of the Union, which lo and behold, everything's great because we're giving the State of the Union. That's another 1984 kind of thing going on right there. And then I was at the end, where the president leaves the room and they're showing him, and it's usually like a split screen. They're commenting on the speech, and then there's Joe Biden leaving and talking to everybody. I saw him put his face right into another woman's face, and they touched foreheads and they talked for a second. And I thought, woman, seemingly inappropriate thing to do.
Maybe could be a prayer. Maybe they were doing a prayer together.
Yeah, it just seemed odd in the face of you just dropped the whole mask thing. And by the way, that whole thing happened as a result of the CDC changing how they measure the danger across the United States. So last week, 99% of the country was in danger, but then by Friday of last week, after they changed it, only like 19% of the country was in danger, just ahead of the State of the Union. Seems kind of odd to me.
I know.
Anyway, and then just this whole jovial atmosphere that was happening before the speech as well, just how everybody just seemed calm and they're laughing and everything. Well, we're potentially on the cusp of World War III. We've got inflation going through the roof right now. We've got a lot of things that are happening, and it's very serious. So I wasn't catching that tone before the speech whatsoever.
To your point, I've heard it described, I don't remember by who, but it seemed like several people referred to it as a lot of theater.
It was a lot of theater. And, we just showed Nancy Pelosi doing that weird thing back there. But one of the things that really bothers me about the State of the Union, and it's not just a Joe Biden thing, this happens with every president. It's like every fifth word they say, everyone stands up and,
I know.
It's like,
that's why
me?
I can't, dude, right there. That is why I can't watch it. That is why I can't. It's such a waste of time.
And it's just so like, I don't know, like you're kissing my butt. Yeah, yes. Exactly. I don't like that at all. And then you're
not learning anything. That's when you got something so orchestrated and calculated. So, why watch it? It's theater.
It's theater. You're exactly right. And that's too bad. I wouldn't say that the messaging that Joe Biden portrayed in the State of the Union is going to improve his approval rating whatsoever. I think it's probably just going to stay exactly where it's been and probably decline. Usually the president gets a bump in his approval rating after the State of the Union. I did look at some polling. The first State of the Union by Barack Obama, the first State of the Union by Trump, and compared that to Joe Biden's first State of the Union. Both Obama and Trump outpaced Joe Biden by a long shot in the approval rating. So you got that as well. Not impressive, but I don't think it was terrible either.
Oh, well, okay. That's more positive.
Here's something interesting is Joe Manchin. I don't know if you saw anything on this, but Joe Manchin sits with Republicans during the State of the Union.
I did see that. Yeah.
And says, this is what he said, while Americans decry what is happening in Ukraine, the United States continues to allow the import of more than 500,000 barrels per day of crude oil and other petroleum products from Russia during this time of war. And he sat next to Mitt Romney. So it's kind of like sitting with a Democrat.
Yeah. Somewhere I saw a video or an audio recording of a tape recording of a fossil fuel lobbyist who was bragging about that he has contact with Manchin's office every week, and how important, because he's a key figure in ensuring their continued success in Washington, because he's the moderate Democrat.
Yeah. Well, and West Virginia is a big coal state as well, and a lot of they've lost a lot of business as a result of the policies that have happened here. If I were a lobbyist, I'd be all over Joe Manchin as well if I were in that.
Right.
And it's interesting. Joe Manchin is quite a guy. There was an abortion bill that came up from the House this past week to the Senate, and it failed. Joe Manchin was the only Democrat to vote against it. So he's really taking the place of, what was John McCain, the Maverick? Joe Manchin is the Maverick. I wouldn't want to be that guy.
No.
I think that'd be a pretty tough place to be, Joe Manchin.
Oh, just have heat on you all the time.
Oh, all the time. And Kirsten Sinema as well.
Yeah. She's a tough place
to be.
She's totally sold out to the.
I don't trust any of these people.
I don't either. It's our system.
I've heard that too. It really is.
Yeah,
it really is. Let's see here. Oh, here's another one is U.S. bans all Russian flights from its airspace. That just happened this week as well. That's happening all across the world right now.
Yeah.
And one other thing here is that we're going to be seeing confirmation hearings here for Kenya. Let's see. Katanya Brown Jackson. I think that's how you pronounce her first name, Katanya. And it looks to me like it's going to be no problem getting her confirmed into the Supreme Court. I don't see any real hurdles that are going to happen. She just got confirmed to the lower court. So she just went through the whole Senate approval process only a few months ago to the circuit court. So she's familiar to everybody there. They didn't really give her any kind of hard time making it to the circuit court, and I'm not anticipating we're going to hear any problems. I mean, the whole thing was that Joe Biden said he was going to appoint a black Supreme Court justice, which, it's terrible on the front that you're going to,
But you got to lead
single
with
that
that.
down to the race. Yeah, exactly. I just, that's racist in itself, but it seems like this is a person that that several Republicans will confirm as well. And that's all they really need in order to get her through.
Yeah, no, that's a shame. That always burns me up when they lead with race. You're right. It is racist. We talk like this every week, and I'll say again, I think people are awakening from the woke. I really do.
Yeah. I like I said, I really want to, it's a powerful elixir, the whole woke thing, because it's sort of, it's cultish. It is. And I mean, this is psychological warfare as far as I'm concerned. And it works, and it's powerful. It's tried and true. This kind of stuff isn't new. It's been going on for some time now. And the people that are doling it out are professionals at doing it.
Yeah, very true.
Here's another article I just picked up. This is Ines Kanter Freedom ousted from NBA, vows to continue speaking out against CCP's abuses. I don't know if you saw this guy.
I did not. Tell me about that. Who was that? First of all.
So first off, he's a center. He was the last team. I think he's played for like 7 different teams in the NBA, but the last team he was with was Boston. Let me just read a little bit of this. Basketball player Ines Kanter Freedom, who was reportedly recently nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize and is currently without a job in the NBA, received a warm welcome from U.S. senators at an award ceremony last week for his continued activism against the Chinese Communist Party and human rights abuses. Wow. Here's the deal. Kanter, he just became an American citizen last November. He's Turkish. He is a Muslim, and here he is in the NBA, and he puts things on his shoes, like free Tibet. Stuff about the Uyghurs and save the Uyghurs and everything. And you know how the NBA has cracked down on anything that goes against China. Well, it turns out that he got traded to Dallas, and Dallas dropped him. He's one of the leading centers. He's one of the leading centers statistically in the NBA. He's really good. But he crossed the dragon, and you can't do that in the NBA. You
would think of all of the NBA teams that Dallas would be the last one to play into that. Texas.
You would, but then look at it. It almost doesn't matter what state that you're in when it comes to the NBA, because look, it was I think it was the general manager from the Houston Rockets that made the comment about. Hong Kong and to that we should work with the freedom fighters in Hong Kong, and they lambasted him. He almost lost his job, and so it just doesn't matter. Here's some of the things that another thing that he had on his shoes was stop organ harvesting in China. Ooh, so that's a bad thing to put that on your shoes, because that's what was happening. That is what's been happening. We know that's been happening. That's
just right up there. It's like part of the sex trade industry.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's disgusting what's happening, especially with the Falun Gong. But again, this guy is a Muslim, and he's seeing what they're doing with the Muslim Uyghurs up there, and he's going to stand against that. And I got to say, he stands to lose millions and millions of dollars by taking a stand. But to me, that's a real. That's a person that has real heart.
You're not going to
really
find LeBron
cares.
James doing that.
No, you'll never find that. No. And I just pray that he is successful on every level. So he like I said, he became a U.S. citizen on November 29th, and he changed his name. He added freedom to his last name. His last name is Kanter, and he added freedom to it. So he's Ines Kanter Freedom.
Oh, that's a good share right there, buddy.
Yeah, let me let me just share this picture here. Here's a picture of one of the shoes that he was wearing.
How cool. Well, I hope that, the sacrifices that this young man has made, I hope they pay off, that it's an inspiration to some other people. And not just that, it's, most of us aren't very well educated on and care a whole lot about what's going on in the world, as long as it's not impacting our day. Uh, well, he's bringing a lot of awareness to self-sacrifice.
Yeah, and there's a saying that says that something about bad things happen when good people stand by in the face of evil and do nothing.
Mhm.
And this is a guy that realized that he had he had an outlet, he had a way to get the message out, and he took advantage of that. And these guys throughout history are the type of people that have changed the world for good. And so that's why I say I'm just, my heart's with them. I totally agree with them. I have definitely felt the pain of, what's been happening here in this world personally and financially myself. And I'm with this guy. God bless him.
Yeah, same here, Merle. I should probably start wrapping up here.
Yeah, this is good because that was the end of all the stuff that I had. So I love it. And I really hope that you have a fantastic vacation down there and just live it up, man. This is great.
We are.
Hi to Lisa's mom.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you again for Aunt Margie's prayer.
Oh, I love that. So I can't wait to tell Anne Marie about that.
That was a good way to open the podcast, wasn't it?
Absolutely, man. Yeah. I mean, you can't, what a day when you get to hear that kind of thing. Yeah. Everything's going our way here, Barry.
Yeah, absolutely. So God bless America too, and the Ukraine. And I hope that we can start to ease tensions around all of this stuff. There's some scary things going on there.
There are, and I just want to say this from my Bible, what I can see here is that God has this. One of the things that I see is there's a lot of prophecy in the Bible about things that are to come, and many of the things that are happening in this world are right there in our Bible. We can see that they were going to happen. So God doesn't have a plan to harm us. The devil does. But in the end, God wins. And that doesn't, I mean, there will be trouble, but he's for us and he's with us and he's there to protect us. So lean on him during these dark times. These are indeed dark times, but there is a victorious God that's on your side that loves you. And I get a lot of hope from that. And I hope you do too.
Well, I hope so. War has happened before.
It has.
Regardless of anyone's higher power.
This whole notion of the like a nuclear war would happen that destroys the entire world is just not in the Bible, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's not how we're going now.
Okay.
That's not what's going to happen.
Well, that gives me some hope. Another thing is, it'd be a great time for those UFOs to show up when those nukes get hot, It's always been said that nuclear tests bring out the UFOs, and they've had missiles go totally dead that were being armed.
What's really interesting about that? Scott and I had a great conversation about this. I felt like I was talking to you too. But I mean, I know that there are these things that are happening. I have maybe a different take on where it's coming from, but I totally agree that we may be seeing more of that kind of thing, and I would not be surprised to hear more stories like what you just said, because I believe that that there's a spiritual. I really believe it's the spirit world that's showing up. It's manifesting itself, and it can be good or it can be evil, and we can see bad things happen through that, and we can see good things happen through that. So. Like I said, I'm kind of, it's sort of I don't know if I'm saying this right, but it is sort of an exciting time.
Not the words I would use.
It is exciting because I just believe that we win in the end. And I think if you believe that, you can look at it differently. and I can find it in my Bible where I can get real comfort that God has this, and his what does it say? He works all things together for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. When he says all things, he's not talking about just good things, because just good things don't happen. He even uses bad things to cause his purpose to happen. Not that he orchestrated the bad things, but, you know, and we've talked about this before, Barry, is that, you know, a lot of times the bad things that have happened in our lives were terrible when they happened, but they've led to even greater things that would never have happened had that bad thing not happened. And I'm looking for that silver lining right now.
Good. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. All
right,
buddy. Probably we'll get this out tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good, man.
All right, buddy. Love
Great
you,
show.
man.
I love you too, man.
Have a great weekend and all. All right.
You too. Bye now.